Okay. Well, guys, we're gonna do a very unusual thing here: a double react. It's not something that's gonna be normally on the content side of things, but it would seem that this recent video I made was a little more contentious than I bargained for. Honestly, quite surprised at how much feedback I got. Outrageous amount of comments, almost 500 comments on the video. People saying all kinds of different things. And I found out this morning that DS Lily reacted to it and apparently has said some negative things, and her chat is pretty one-sided on that. I feel like I wasn't sure if I wanted to make a follow-up video on this, but it's getting that much attention. I think it would be good. And I noticed that a lot of people are attributing false motivations to what I was trying to do here. Some people thought it was just like a straight-up meme parody or got nothing better to do content to make. That's not what it was at all. I do kind of have like a content schedule. There's like 10 different videos that I had in mind to make in the first couple weeks leading up to launch, and I've already made 5 of them now, I think. Already have. And I got more up my sleeve. Not so opinionated content, as I usually stay more on the informative side. But anyway, let's just go through this together, and I'll kind of address some of the things. There's a lot of different things people have been saying about WASD and or about me that, well, I would just like to have a chance to respond. And maybe some of you might be interested in seeing what I have to say.
Are going to use WASD. 95% of players are going to use WASD. That's my prediction. Okay, I don't like why people always say this, like, how are you going to click your skills? Have they never seen a game like World of Warcraft or something? There's so many games that have skills in WASD.
I have played World of Warcraft more than you know. A lot more than all of you know.
It's your skill, you're just not going to have a skill on WAS or.
I almost wonder, maybe World of Warcraft log still has me up somewhere on those pages. Your boy got a lot of orange parses back in the day. Yeah. Just thought you might want to know that. Yeah, you guys pointed that. This is definitely going to be a point of I'm going to bring up. I barely talked about this in the video, but the notion that the game, the balance is being changed in favor of one movement style over another is absolutely 100% a thing, and this is the beginning of a trend, more than likely. As a developer, you might feel compelled to, I don't know, fundamentally redesign combat at its most basic level. For now, this is me beginning to express this point. Like I just said, combat balancing is being changed to favor that. This is incontrovertible. I mean, the devs have said it plainly, straight up. Jonathan has said it. WASD has allowed us to redesign combat. I'm paraphrasing, but to redesign combat to be more favorable for that system. Or better integration into the framework of that movement system.
I think he's got it backwards. I think they wanted more action-y combat, and WASD is
This guy's hitting me with logic. See, I mean, everyone. If you watch these comments every once in a while, sparingly, you're going to see somebody really say like they absolutely agree with what I'm saying. It's interesting to me, but no, I don't have it backwards. I think she just misunderstood what I said. I agree with. I know what she means, and I agree with that. I think she just misunderstood. Took me for the opposite of what I meant.
The word I'm thinking of is a symptom of that, but I mean, symptom's not really what. I mean, I guess it's a symptom, but symptom kind of has connotation of bad thing, but is a result.
Comments like this. So these are some of the more inflammatory ones. This guy is so fucking salty. Consoles even exist. That is not what's going on here. I guess that could be one interpretation, but I never said I hated consoles or that I'm even like gatekeeping. Like, you could make the argument that it sounds like I'm trying to gatekeep click to move and keep consoles out, but I mean, dude, I played on consoles almost as much in my life that I played on PC. I have a lot of experience being a kid on consoles.
That. Like the main point of PoE 2, right, is that they think the combat in PoE 1 is bad. That's like the whole reason PoE 2 is a separate game, is because they wanted to revamp the combat and stuff.
If you wrap that remark into like all aspects of combat, like they wanted to become more methodical, Souls-like stuff. Okay, maybe sure, but it's not explicitly to work in WASD and make that more incentivizing or something. No.
Or like that's 90% the reason, because it just diverged too much, right? And then WASD is the result of making the combat more reactive and
this is
in tune,
exactly what happened
actiony,
in the later stages.
rather than you just blow up the whole. I mean, like it's blowing up the whole screen's actiony, but you know what I mean, right? Like you're actually gonna have to dodge things and stuff.
Well, obviously, a big reason why they made PoE 2, the initial reason was to redo the acts, take the lore more seriously, and make a much better campaign. Obviously, a big part of it is to make a ton of bosses and a lot of variety and stuff. But yes, I'm not going to split hairs terribly. I mean, I don't like wholeheartedly disagree with what she just said. It is in part, a large part, for the combat, making it slower, which I like, by the way. I don't know, I said that in the video. I think some people didn't get the message. I like the fact that the combat is... It's why I like Last Epoch more than Path of Exile in terms of combat. True story. I actually like it more. Just combat. Just looking at combat only, I like it more. There's another commenter, like... So, there's a lot of people... Again, I found it actually most interesting to read her chat while this video was going on, and a lot of people were arguing about the stuff. It leaned heavily in favor of what she was saying, but that's going to be that way for every streamer. Just like if you read my chat right now, it's going to lean towards my point of view or whatever, or at least neutral. But you do get the occasional comment. It's like, nah, he's spot on, or no, he's making sense to me, or something like that. So it is interesting, and that's why I bring the topic up. There's just so much discussion about it. People don't realize that there's a wide variety of opinions about this going into it, and I think that's a good thing that we're breaking it out all into the open ahead of the potential shitstorm that might happen after the fact. Well, in the end, I found the WASD experience to be quite jarring, to say the least, especially when in combat while trying to navigate terrain, like the tight corridors and stuff. Even in...
So it's a skill issue?
The walls in town proved to be like annoying to bypass.
I did not have this issue.
So the lack of fluid movement meant getting stuck.
It was super fluid.
Along the edges, I guess, is to be a common theme in this game. I'm sorry, I just noticed a very interesting comment here. He clicks his abilities in WoW 100%. Man, that's one hell of an assumption. A, he's assuming I play WoW. B, he's assuming I'm click... Wow. Dang, dude. I wish I had just 5 seconds of footage of me playing WoW back in Legion or whenever. Oh my god. People's heads would spin if they saw that. This is me making my lame attempt at being entertaining. Adding entertainment value to the video. That's why I put this in here. Yeah, it's just supposed to be fun. One of the very first computer games I ever played. Man, I was killing Nazi zombies when I was 10 years old. And all it took was pressing a few arrow keys and a button to shoot. Like, those were the days.
Is he saying that's the ideal movement scheme?
But no, computer games have gotten... The movement speed of Wolfenstein 3D was insane. You flew across the map if you wanted to. That was not a slow game. No.
You still can with the mouse. You just have to click really fast.
I mean... What? You just have to click really... I have no idea what that means. I talked to Cute Dog yesterday, and he seemed to assume or made the assumption that in PoE's WASD, the left click to move is still active. I'm not. Yeah, I can 100% confirm that's not the case. I played it. That was a different form of the beta, and maybe it's changed, maybe it's updated, and that would be really cool if it did. I mean, that was a conclusion of our conversation point for there. Absolutely, I'd be totally on board with them allowing WASD plus click to move. That sounds a lot better. It would annihilate this point that I'm making. Point number 2 out of the 3 about the, or point number 1 out of the 3 about the directional thing. I feel like this is a pretty rough con for WASD. You essentially have 8 movements, okay? You can only move this way or this way. So what happens when you need to move an extra few degrees? It kind of creates a problem, and you know, a lot of mechanics might. You're more likely to see mechanics be designed with these particular angles in mind, and they'll make conscious design decisions to do that, and that is, again, on its face, no big deal, but you don't have to think that hard about it to see where that ultimately right. Somebody made a great analogy the other day about the searing exarch ball phase. So, from my understanding, the searing exarch ball phase is a little bit easier to do on controller than mouse because you get lined up in the grid for where those things are coming. You can more easily tell if you're in the right spot or not, and you don't like accidentally step a couple degrees off and get clipped by the balls. So they, you know, you can understand why the developers would accommodate that side to design a game that way, and it may not necessarily impact otherwise click to move. But what about then, like, are they just going to design more boss fights to be like that, like a grid-like orientation where it's more favorable if you are able to one button press move in a exactly 45 degree angle? That's, you know, something to think about. And it will, you know, how should I say, it will restrict the potential game design when you're no longer designing around 360 degree potential range of motion on that. Look at this, guys. It's constantly, I'm constantly getting ridiculed with boomer take. Guys never played WoW. Honestly, just makes me laugh. They have so much experience in that game that all I can do is just chuckle at those comments. I've had 25 some odd add-ons, weak auras all over the place. Discourse. I can't remember the names of all of those things. And guess what? They the developers of WoW designed their games around what the players were doing and favoring, including all those add-ons. I mean, it's not like developers don't alter how they design the game based on, you know, the particular types of player inputs that are taking place. This is something that should be obvious and very well known to anyone in the gaming community. Freaking cute dog, though. Cute dog. I see you. I'm coming after you, cute dog. We're not friends anymore. Is this Lily's grandpa? Come on, dude. Come on. Who are you trying to impress? I would slurp the mic right now, but you're so much better at it. Toolkit of many skills that synergize and feed off of each other in some way.
Yes.
Skill automation, the likes of what, PoE 1? Did one piano for another.
This game's still gonna have way less buttons than an MMO.
WASD. And that's not even counting the 3 or 4 or more, 5, 6.
Maybe not way less, but at least the similar or less
active
number.
Skills. Another commenter here. Baseless assumption. He's definitely going to back to PoE 1 after trying out the EA. I've all but said I'm not even going to play PoE 1 again. The only reason I haven't said that is because I don't want to piss off my own community by saying that. But it's pretty likely that and I'm literally right now in real time pissing off a bunch of people who I'm trying to represent in this video. I mean, that's the whole. That's actually the secret to this particular video is I'm trying to represent a part of the community that like has no voice, and it isn't that I disagree or that I feel a totally different way than what I represent in this video. I just don't feel nearly as strongly about it personally as what I repped, you know. These are concerns of mine, but I feel like a 2 or 3 out of 10, and I'm representing like 8 out of 10 or something, or 9 out of 10 on these issues. Some people seem to get that impression. That is to give a community voice, because I feel like that's a very valuable reason to make a video and to spark discussion. Discussion obviously needed to exist because suddenly people are talking about it. And if you actually look deep into the comments from all over the place, you'll see tons of people have very diverse opinions about this fundamental change coming to PoE2. The very same developers and testers who were once touting this as like the future
Okay, this is gonna be
of
good.
Path of Exile have suddenly gotten cold feet. Take a listen to what Mark Roberts said towards the end of the Q&A session after
I haven't heard this.
I haven't heard this. Yeah, so has nobody else. This completely slipped under the radar. The scene next to this. This is like the ultimate mic drop moment of the video. And anyway, I'll just play it. These comments. Is he trolling? Is he having lead poisoning issue?
Hardest click to move still stuck up now.
I think honestly it's fine. Like it's not been a problem.
There was a time where every time I go to sit down at a developer's computer, there'd be in WASD, and just because it's a little bit easier to move around again or whatever. But lately, I'd say now it's back to almost every designer's computer I sit back down at to go play. They're back and click to move.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's gone full tilt the other way.
Interesting.
And I'm always like, change
Wonder
it
why
back.
that is.
But even watching Octavian play on click to move,
he's a click to move player, yeah.
He's
Yeah,
100% click to move. He
purist
is
there.
very proficient with that.
Yeah.
With it, like,
That'll be reassuring for, I think, some of the people that are worried about being forced into WASD.
Right.
So this had the predictable effect of practically silencing her entire chat, for one. And then I can only imagine what's going through her head. She's probably incredibly surprised. Maybe almost as surprised as Jonathan was, who was standing right next to Mark, or sitting next to him as he said it. And yeah, they're going to brush it off and continue with a different subject because it's not exactly an appealing talking point. Hey, our own development team doesn't like what we've been working on, essentially. I wouldn't have made this video. I would not have even made this video if that didn't exist. What you heard there. I mean, that's the video right there. I could have just said, hey guys, check out what Mark said. Now, how do you feel about WASD? I don't know how you watch that and don't walk away having a huge reservation about, this brand new way of combat. And by the way, some people keep confusing brand new, because I say, I don't know, I think Lily says this later in the video or something. I don't understand, or it said it earlier. I don't understand what he means by like reverse or brand new combat. WASD has been around forever. It's not the WASD that's brand new. It's the designing combat, a combat system that is designed specifically around that mode of movement, whereby you are able to have your cursor in a location that's independent of where you're moving, and you can continue using spells as you move in that adjacent direction. That is brand new. That I've never seen anything like that in an ARPG. I haven't played them all. I haven't seen them all, but as far as I know, that is totally new and nothing short of revolutionary in the ARPG space. And correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, that's the brand new thing. And that's what we're talking about. That's why it's worth talking about. Listen, that's...
Okay, I don't see the problem. I mean, but I'm gonna swap between both, but depending on the situation. Like, if there's a scenario where it feels better to click, I'm just gonna click. You can just press like a hotkey on your keyboard and it swaps the control options.
Yeah, okay. So now the goalposts are going to switch from, or they're going to shift a little bit here into the argument of, why do you even care, bro? You have options. Well, I got more to say on that. I'm going to let some more of the video play out on that. That's not a particularly great argument you're going to see in the end.
In a scenario where I'm going to need more like precise, short, small movements, I'll just go WASD.
I see this comment a lot too in the response to the video. Let me see if I can pull it up. This guy is so annoying. That's not the one, but all right, thanks. I won't even argue against that one. He's reading into this too much. Reading into this too much. Hopefully I'll remember to address that one too. I want to save that one for later, like as a kind of a conclusion thing. I like obsessing about the minutia of things, and just as like a, one sentence rebuttal. Some people like reading into things and thinking about them, like psychoanalyzing stuff, and they have experiences. Yes, experiences playing WASD games and click-to-move games, and seeing the trend lines of how these games operate. And it's not that much of a stretch of imagination to see this moment as a seismic shift in how combat is designed in this space.
Okay, this is Path of Exile 2.
They don't want a swipe right simulator being Path of Exile 2, so it's a different game. I would 100% concede to that point if it was named a different game and was not an actual predecessor of an already existing game. If this was a totally new company, or especially if it was a totally different company, different game, like if Last Epoch had made this system, I wouldn't have anything to say about it. Nothing. But everybody knows this is more than just a totally different game. This is the evolution of the first game, which again, in the history of that is it was going to be nothing more than a revamping of the acts, and then it just kept building and building and building and building, and before they knew it, it really was like a different game, but it's still in the minds and hearts of all the players going to be just Path of Exile 2.0. The same game, basically. Slightly different feeling systems and slower resetting the power creep, all that. Why does this guy keep equating pressing WASD like it's adding a ton of buttons? Because that's what it felt like when I was in the beta. It was suddenly very convenient. I mean, the beta didn't come with a multi-button mouse, it was just a conventional mouse. So I had to bind everything. And sure, if you had and was used to a MMO mouse, 16-button mouse like I used to have, it wouldn't be so bad. You could get used to that way. But certainly in terms of like conventional setup, it is adding more buttons. It was extremely infuriating trying to use WASD and then like bind something to QER and then still try to like go up there and press 1, 2, 3. And I'm sure if I had a lot more time on that, I would have rebound the hell out of that keyboard. I would have been doing crazy things. I would probably rebound ZXCV down there and done all kinds of stuff and just kind of worked off the ASDF home row in that case. But for playing ARPGs, I'm used to mostly 1, 2, 3, 4 is home row and QWER maybe, but definitely not ASDF. So yeah, that's one reason why it was really jarring for me. And again, part of that was a lack of. I mean, ASDF was home row for World of Warcraft, but it's been a long time, obviously, and yeah, it's just takes time. Skill issue, right? Skill issue. There's another comment in the chat. I think a lot of people are confused, and again, we don't know exactly how it's going to be. Somebody said, I don't think he realizes that WASD is not replacing mouse movement. It did totally replace it in the Tokyo Game beta, and I've yet to see any info that suggests otherwise, that the beta is now different. If it is, I will totally resend the comments or suggest. I didn't technically suggest it anyway, but I would, to some extent, rescind that point of concern that you can't actually click to move and use WASD at the same time. He's ranting as if he can't use mouse click. Yeah, kind of am, because that was the case as somebody who played the beta.
Yeah, for ARPGs, it's not common, but it's not like some alien concept in general. Like I don't know why it's so crazy in an ARPG.
Essentially turning every skill into a channeling skill with slower movement during the cast, that is a revolutionary concept. And the reason why, and again, we've heard Jonathan talk about this, the reason why this whole thing was pushed, that combat change, was because of the implementation of controller gameplay and then syncing it up in as best they could by introducing WASD, an old concept, back into this genre that doesn't normally support it. And again, I said, at best, this is a friendly nod from the development team to the console gamers. At worst, it is the beginning of a step in de-evolving, the game's combat system. Because Lily was right. WASD is an old thing. It's a very old thing. Click to move is the new thing. That was, and I remember, the point I made in like the D2 segment. Being able to move your cursor and move wherever you want. Just click a place and you move, to that. And you can like hold it down while moving your cursor around. You can literally like run around in a circle. You can take the path of least resistance on like circled ground AOE effects, things like that. That is a new thing. And WASD is not quite as good for that. And so that's how the games have been developed and have evolved with that type of movement system in mind. Yeah, so to move like 45 degrees up left, you hold W and A, and then your cursor can be wherever it is, and you can be shooting or firing or whatever you want. And so like, you're moving up 45 degree angle holding WA, you let go of W, now you're moving 90 degrees left, and then you let go of A and press S, that means you're moving 90 degrees down. And you only have 8 angles you can move. Now, if you're really good at the game, obviously you would get skilled at this over time, and you could very quickly, I called it pianoing, because to me it is pianoing. If you're playing at a fast pace, you're going to be, pressing and lifting WASD constantly. Your hands are constantly on there because you're going to be moving. It'll be kind of jagged and rigid, but you're just going to be moving around and constantly avoiding different things. And sure, anyone can get good at that at the end. And as somebody who played WASD and World of Warcraft a lot, I can get behind it. There's a huge misconception that people have that I am somehow anti-WASD. To address the comment, what do you care, bro? You can just choose. I don't know about you guys, but I would say the average PoE veteran, when they make a choice in the game, whether it's gear, skill, build, yeah, there's some flavorful choices sometimes. But let's all be honest here. There's really only one choice. The choice is the better one. Which one's better? That's the choice you make. That's a choice you make when you choose between 2 different builds. A choice you make when you choose between 2 different pieces of gear, so on and so forth. And that is a choice you're going to make in large part when you choose between 2 different movement systems based on how the game's combat is balanced. And it's in that context that I make my final point here. I want to give a voice to the people who, at the start of all this, were super concerned. I feel like people got amnesia or something here. Did everybody forget that the moment they introduced WASD like a year ago, 9 months ago or something, like there was massive backlash, like all over the forums, all over like global chat and stuff. People were trolling the devs and stuff. They were like, well, what are you talking about there? And, obviously their minds turned around on this greatly, and they started, this was before they were really pushing console integration too, and this is why one of the biggest surprises for me on this video is the amount of pushback. I feel like I dramatically underestimated how much ground GGG has made in recruiting traditionally WASD console joystick players. They've done a great job, and this is in part evidence. This new system, it has gone, the rhetoric and the impression of WASD has gone completely the other way around. It started off, people hated it, were super resistant to the idea, And now, up until the point I made a video, it was just surprisingly, everybody was just all about it, loved it. And then I saw the live reveal, and when I saw Mark make those remarks, it just clicked in my head, that's a video. I'm obviously going to make a video around that. At the time, I didn't really care. This whole time, I personally didn't really think that much of it. And then I started reflecting on it, thinking more deeply, and I realized there are still a lot of people. I started asking people in our community if what they think about it. And a lot of people were just kind of disgruntled, or they hadn't given a whole lot of thought. And as they started thinking about it more, they realized how much they were kind of resistant to it for one reason or another. Taking a more even-headed approach on looking at the whole WASD versus click-to-move thing. There are pros and cons to WASD, and we've just been hearing and seeing nothing but pros about it for so long that it is, I think, warped the minds of a lot of, especially PoE 1 veterans, and I mentioned when I said that I think the vast majority of mouse and keyboard players are going to favor, or are going to, resist switching WASD. I was not including the unsuspectingly large player base that is already a console and joystick, and they're just oriented toward that style. I was really referring to people who have gotten very comfortable with playing ARPGs in more recent years. And so I just want to give that side a voice, and I just was curious. I made the video to put it out there. I didn't intend for it to be a super spicy video, but as I was writing the script on it, I started taking it more seriously, thinking about it more hard. And I'll share one more thing about me a little bit behind the veil. I'm the kind of person that likes, whenever I see something that is where the scales are being tipped really heavily in one direction or the other, I don't like that. I feel like if I have a voice, I'd like to use it to give the scales a chance to, come more evenly. I don't want people to get blindsided by the notion that they have to use WASD, or this is a necessary change, that they're somehow wrong if they feel like it doesn't feel good, and that this choice that they have, or that they have to use the right choice, because the right choice is the better choice. The better choice, certainly for the mercenary in a lot of classes, is going to be WASD, because that's how it's meant to be played based on the combat system. I didn't make the game. And if you want to know what this is like, because I got some other criticism about me being overly cynical or whatever. It may seem like I'm being cynical right now. That's fair. But just to prove to you guys that that's not the case specifically, I'll once again bring up my favorite time of all time, Calandra League. You guys remember what my content was like in Calandra League? All the other content, it wasn't just one video. It was the entire community was dogpiling on that league, hating the league, and you had little old me being the light in the tunnel trying to navigate through here. Guys, this game's good. Look, here's the loot. Here's what's awesome. Check out the loot, goblin stuff. Let's get into it. This is magic time. Magic finds time to shine. And I was oddly positive at that time, for those of you who were around at the time. So I am not an overtly cynical person. I like playing devil's advocate. I like giving a voice to, the side of the community that's not getting much of a voice. And I'm glad I did, because this video has almost 500 views. Not views, sorry, 500 comments. And it's blown me away at all the different takes. And a lot of people are glad that I made it. People who do feel represented by the takes that I had. I was able to put into words what they were not up to this point, and address an oncoming issue that's going to be here, I think, in the future. We'll see. But anyway, that's just kind of what I wanted to say on it. Yeah, I'm not upset or anything. I'm just surprised about all the skill issue things, that people don't know my history at all on that. And the misconception that I am a fervent hater of WASD is not true at all. There's a decent chance I will be using WASD in a league. Oh, one final point I should have said. A lot of the same people who are suggesting, what are you complaining about? You got a choice, are simultaneously saying WASD is better in most situations or some situation. I got a little bit of a problem with that, intellectually speaking. That's, yeah, you can't have it both ways. Again, when the choice is choose the better option, or what are you going to do? Deliberately choose the worse option just because it feels a little better? That, either way you look at that, that's grounds for being upset about one thing or another. Again, I'm glad I have the choice. I don't necessarily want one option to be inherently better than the other.
Like having complete control over your character while also being able to shoot, like, it's going to be better. This will result in a huge swath of the community playing WASD despite their own personal experience or intuition that it may not feel as good. I mean, if it doesn't feel good to somebody, wouldn't they just try the other thing? I mean, actually, no, but, you know, a lot of people probably wouldn't, but that's their problem.